Hey YouTube, what's going on? Welcome back to the third video of this multifamily underwriting series. My name's Gabe Bowling, and in today's video, this is where we're going to be transitioning out of the back of the napkin, pen to paper, whiteboard underwriting, and we're going to be moving into our internal underwriting model that we've used to acquire over $50 million of deals. And we're going to start with functionality of how our underwriting model works itself. So I'm going to give you a tour and walk you through the high-level steps of how we're going to be using this underwriting model.
Just jumping right into the underwriting model itself. Hopefully you don't mind that I transition over to the laptop. I just wanted to simply show you the inside of the model and give you a very clear picture of what the functionality is. By looking at the dashboard, you can see a very clear difference between back of the napkin, pen to paper, 5-minute underwriting, and actually detailing out every line item for rental income, other income, and the expenses. Biggest questions is, where can I get my hands on this? Like, how do I get access to it? All you got to do is click the link in the description. We do individually sell access to just the underwriting tool. If you want the one-on-one support with my underwriting team and even getting to meet one-on-one with me, you do have to be a member inside the inner circle. So let's jump into the actual functionality of the tool. And regardless, if you do grab access to it and you're using this specific tool, or you could be using somebody else's, you still should be setting the deal up in the same way. It's just which tool are you using to get there. I want to recap. What are we doing as value add investors? We are buying an asset that looks something like this. We're fixing it, whether it's the exterior, interior, or better management, which in this case, it's all three. And we're improving the income of the asset and therefore increasing the value and making all the money. You need two documents always to underwrite a deal. First document is what's referred to as the trailing 12 or a T12. And essentially this is a doctor that's looking at the patient's charts over the last 12 months. And you're the doctor and you're looking at the patient is the deal. And the T12 is the stats or the information that tells you whether or not this is a healthy patient, somebody that's in need, or somebody that's about to die, and we need to perform medical surgery to save the deal or to save the patient. So that is how you should be looking at a T12. Like, this is all the last 12 months of operating income and operating expenses. The second document that you need is the in-place rent roll. This is like whenever you're buying apartments, you're paying for the in-place contractual leases, like the legal documents that every tenant has in place that says this tenant's going to pay $1,349 every single month. Tying it together with the actual underwriting model, what we're trying to do is we're trying to extrapolate the information from the seller's financials, the T12 and the rent roll, and we're trying to insert it into our underwriting model. That way we can actually get to work and look at how much upside is there on the deal, how much downside is there, and how can we protect the risk, and what are the returns. Very first thing that you actually do inside of it to make it work is we need to spread the T12. And what that means is we're essentially carrying all the information. I want to take rent income, this 433, and I want to plug it into our underwriting model over in the financials tab under the seller's T12 into gross potential rent, 433. And I'm trying to do that on the entire T12 all the way down until the net operating income is the exact same on the seller's T12 as it is to the seller's T12 column inside of our underwriting model. The next thing that I'm going to be doing now that I have the information from the seller's T12 is I need to transfer the information from the seller's rent roll. I don't want to have to keep going back and forth between the seller's T12 and the rent roll. Now that we're done with the T12, I can get rid of it. I don't need to refer back to it. And I'm trying to do the same thing with the rent roll so that I can have a cohesive understanding of the entire deal. So I'm inserting the information from the seller's rent roll, like the unit types. Fortunately for this was all the same condition, same classic square footage, same floor plan, everything was the same. So it's very easy to understand. In some cases, you might have classics. In most cases, actually, you have classics, you have some that have been renovated, you have 1-1s, you have 2-1s, you have 2-2s, and you need to break it out so you can understand every detail that the property has. So what am I also looking for other than the unit types? I'm looking for the average in-place rents. This is huge. This is massive that you get this. And then also what's referred to as the seller's proven market rents, which is what dictates loss to lease, and we're going to go into that next video. Once we're completed with the seller's rent roll and the T12, that's like the most boring and monotonous part about the underwriting itself, because you're not really doing much. You're just transferring the information from the T12 and the rent roll into the underwriting model that you're going to use. The next step in our process for the functionality, now that we're done inserting the information, is we need to solve for what's referred to as takeover NOI right here to the right of it. And this is essentially me looking at the day one income. So all of the income that is coming in from today's rent roll. The biggest thing for takeover is going to be making sure that your expenses are accurate to what they'll be with you buying the property. So the biggest differences on this deal, for example, is the insurance was $17,000 and now we're paying $46,000. So if you don't get that in your underwriting, you're going to be underwater to even begin with, but you are way overpaying for the property if you don't know this. After we're done figuring out for the takeover NOI, then we move into the future and we do a rent survey. So we go around the property, we look at every other property that's in the immediate area, and we do a rent stack. So we compare what is the condition of our competitors. Are they renovated? What are the square footage? Is it professionally managed? Do they have in-unit washer and dryers? And we get down to the very, very fine detail so we can form our business plan. What are we going to be doing with our rent increases? In this case, our goal is to take rents from $13.47 to $16.50 after we renovated the units and the outside. We are projecting what income will happen to the property through rent increases and through other income opportunities. Actually, in multifamily, all we're doing is we're buying NOI. What is the takeover NOI? That is what we are acquiring. Through rent increases, maybe other income opportunities, and reduction of your expenses, you are increasing the NOI year over year over year. Our goal is to go from $250 of NOI to $360 over the next 3 to 5 years through rent increases and operating the property. Now that we've completed, takeover NOI, we figured out our business plan and where we could take NOI to. Now we can take a step back, just like we did on the whiteboard, and look at what does a potential sale look like and what are the returns if everything went to plan like we are projecting. For $3.925 million, if we increase the rents $300 and move our NOI from $250 to $360, and we sell at a 6% cap rate, we would put a projected value of almost $6.1 million. And after a 70-30 profit split, the net returns to the investors would be close to the 2x return. Cap really quick, and then we're going to move on to the next video where I'm going to show you the inside of it, what we just did here and the functionality of the tool. We got rid of the seller's T12 because we transferred all of the information from there over into our underwriting model and tied it out. Then we got rid of the seller's rent roll because we inserted all of the information from the rent roll into the rent stack tab here so we can understand the average in-place rents, what was already proven, and then we did our rent analysis, which helped us come up with our business plan and dictate that there was $300 of upside. We solved for our takeover NOI. We figured out it was almost $250,000, and through our business plan of increasing the rents by $300, adding a couple of other income items, and then reducing some of the expenses, our NOI grew from $250 to $360 over a 3 to 5 year period. We exit at a 6% cap rate. Our NOI in the future is $360. That would put our value at $6 to $6.1 million, which at a 70-30 profit split would be these returns. That is what we went through.
All right, so hopefully you now have an understanding of what the difference is between back of the napkin, pen to paper underwriting, and actually diving deep into the numbers. Now, after having trained hundreds of people, I know that you might be feeling a little overwhelmed because of how much information we just went through. I'm telling you, it's just like going to the gym, or it's just like going and learning a new sport. You have to practice. This is where everybody starts to fail because they go out, they underwrite one deal, or they try to underwrite one deal, they get confused or they get stuck, they don't have anybody else to talk to, then you end up quitting. That is not my goal here. You go to Crexy.com or you go to LoopNet or you go to CoStar and you start pulling these properties that are for sale with T12s and with rent rolls. You can practice as many times as you want. I can tell you with certainty that on the 10th time, you're going to be a whole lot better than you were on the first time. And on the 100th time that you're underwriting a deal, you're going to be so much better than you were on the 10th time. And it's not even going to be a comparison between the 100th and then the very first one that you do. So the faster we can get through this first initial phase of underwriting and the further that you can dive into it, the easier it gets. Hopefully you're enjoying this underwriting series. If you are and you want to help support the channel and get this information in front of more real estate investors, make sure you do so by dropping a like, comment, and most importantly, make sure you subscribe. With that being said, let's go ahead and let's continue this series. In the next video, I'm actually going to show you using the same T12, the rent roll, and the underwriting model that we've been using from start to finish how to underwrite a multifamily deal. I will see you in the next one.